The Galactic Concord had not declared war in over 8,000 years. It didn't need to. The mere threat of its combined fleets, the sheer scale of its authority, was enough to bend entire civilizations into obedience. Peace had become more than law. It had become assumption. But peace, like glass, is fragile, and humanity had always been a hammer waiting to strike. When Earth first entered the galactic stage, the Concord tolerated them. Humans were noisy, argumentative, and endlessly inventive. They rose too quickly, asked too many questions, and pushed too far beyond the boundaries of what the Concord allowed. Yet, for a time, the ruling species dismissed them as little more than an unruly child in a room full of elders. That illusion shattered when rumors spread. Earth was developing forbidden weapons, technologies outlawed since the last galactic war. At first, no one believed it. Humans were reckless, yes, but to tamper with things that could unbalance the galaxy itself? That was madness. Then came the intelligence reports, images of vast shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, prototypes of planet-cracking warheads, encrypted transmissions the Concord could not decode. True or false, the evidence was enough. The verdict unanimous. Humanity would be purged before it grew into something uncontrollable. The declaration of war was broadcast across the stars with all the pomp and finality of history itself. On alien worlds, billions watched with relief and celebration. The dangerous upstarts would finally be humbled. The Concord's fleets, numberless, disciplined, ancient, would sweep Earth away like a wave erases footprints in the sand. But on Earth, the reaction was strange. There was no mass panic, no collapse of order. Instead, in cities lit by neon and spaceports humming with departure sirens, people cheered. Crowds poured into the streets, not in despair, but in something that looked disturbingly like excitement. Soldiers grinned as deployment orders flashed across their visors. Families wept, yes, but there was pride in their tears. Governments spoke not with fear, but with calm, deliberate certainty. It was as though humanity had been expecting this moment all along. Deep within Earth's Defense Command, General Aria Vega stood at the podium, her voice steady as the declaration echoed through the chambers. They believe we are afraid. They believe this war will break us. They believe they are teaching us a lesson. She paused, scanning the faces of officers and diplomats alike, all watching her with burning eyes. Then she smiled. They are wrong. We been waiting. The room erupted, not in dread, but in thunderous applause. Orders streamed out across the Sol system. Shipyards lit up like stars being born. Civilian craft were retrofitted into war machines overnight. Colonies at the farthest edges of human space sent a single message back to Earth. We stand ready. While the galaxy saw the declaration as the beginning of Earth's end, humanity saw something entirely different. It was not the death knell of their civilization. It was the opportunity they had been preparing for. The hammer had finally found its glass. The Concord's fleets arrived in the Sol system with the weight of inevitability behind them. Hundreds of thousands of ships, from sleek frigates to fortress-sized carriers, stretched across the void like a black tide blotting out the stars. To the galaxy, this was how wars ended, swiftly, decisively, and without suspense. For the Concord, Earth was just another reminder that the galaxy did not tolerate rebellion.
The alien armada expected Earth to tremble. Instead, they were met with silence. Then a transmission crackled across every channel, carried on frequencies old and new, reaching every vessel in the fleet. A woman's voice spoke in a tone of calm amusement. "You wanted to see how far we've come? Welcome to Seoul." The battle began with thunder. From the shadows of Saturn's rings, railguns hidden in ice fields opened fire. Massive tungsten rods, accelerated to near relativistic speeds, slammed into the front lines of the alien fleet, tearing through shields and armor alike. Dozens of ships were crippled before the Concorde even knew where the shots came from. Then the drones awoke. Clouds of autonomous machines, disguised as drifting debris, surged toward the invaders. They weren't elegant, like Concorde strike craft. Humans didn't build for elegance. They were jagged, ugly, bristling with explosives and plasma cutters. They latched onto hulls like swarms of metal locusts, ripping, burning, detonating. Alien commanders scrambled to restore order. Doctrine demanded tight formations, overlapping fields of fire, methodical advance. But against humanity, order was a weakness. Every time the Concorde tried to stabilize, humans shattered them with ambushes. From behind asteroids, from within moons, from ships that feigned death only to erupt with hidden cannons. The Concorde had expected resistance. They had not expected madness. At the heart of it all, the human fleet finally emerged. Warships forged from generations of planning, brutal, angular behemoths designed not for beauty but survival. They didn't glide, they charged. Engines screamed, hulls shook, and weapons fired with reckless abandon. Where Concorde vessels moved like dancers, human ships moved like brawlers, closing the distance until combat became raw, chaotic, and personal. On the bridge of the Concorde flagship, Admiral Threx watched in disbelief as human frigates tore through squadrons twice their size, sacrificing themselves just to cripple a capital ship. Casualty reports streamed in, but the humans didn't seem to care. If anything, their ferocity grew. And that was when Threx noticed it. The human ships had painted their hulls not with camouflage, but with grins. Stylized, jagged, mocking faces stretching across armor plates. Every time a human ship rammed or fired, those grins seemed to laugh. It was psychological warfare made physical, and it worked. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Threx felt something the Concorde had forgotten: unease. The humans weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting like they had been waiting for this war their entire lives. And worse, they were enjoying it. The Concorde was not used to bleeding. Its fleets had subjugated thousands of worlds with minimal losses, its enemies crushed before they had the chance to adapt. Yet, in the war against humanity, every battle was different. They had expected Earth to be desperate. Instead, humanity was learning. Within weeks, human fleets began deploying new weapons, hybrids of stolen Concorde technology and their own brutal engineering. Shields once thought unbreakable were pierced by retooled plasma bursters. Energy siphons designed to drain enemy reactors now powered human railguns. In the time it took the Concorde to analyze human tactics, the humans had already evolved them. Every clash grew more unpredictable. At the siege of Epsilon Eridani, Concorde forces attempted to choke the human colony with a blockade. The humans didn't try to break through. Instead, they lured the fleet deeper into the system, detonated fuel depots hidden in the asteroid belt, and turned half the Concorde armada into flaming wreckage. Survivors whispered that the humans had sacrificed their own infrastructure without hesitation, laughing as their enemies burned with them. The galaxy began to murmur. Stories spread from the front lines of soldiers who refused to surrender, fighting barehanded in vacuum suits until their oxygen ran out. Of captured humans who mocked their captors, smiling even when tortured. Of medics who crossed battle lines under fire to treat alien wounded, then returned to their units as if nothing had happened. The duality was incomprehensible. How could a species be so merciless in war, yet so compassionate in its aftermath? Among alien troops forced to fight under Concord banners, morale fractured. Entire battalions began surrendering without orders, preferring captivity under humans to the certainty of annihilation in battle. On more than one world, conquered populations rose in rebellion after hearing rumors of Earth's defiance. And then came the moment that shifted everything. At the Battle of Cygni Prime, a Concord dreadnought, the pride of its fleet, was boarded by human Marines. The assault should have been impossible. No one had breached a dreadnought in centuries. Yet the humans did not just breach it. They seized control of the vessel, turned its own guns on the Concord fleet, and broadcast a single chilling message across open channels. Smile, you're next. The words spread like wildfire. Soon, across a dozen star systems, Concord soldiers whispered of the Iron Grin, the unshakable look humans wore before charging into hopeless odds. It was not madness. It was confidence, a certainty that even if they died, humanity would endure. For the first time, the Concord Council convened in secret chambers, stripped of their usual composure. Reports were clear. Humanity was not breaking. Humanity was thriving. Admiral Threx's voice, weary and grim, cut through the silence. We thought we were teaching them fear. Instead, they are teaching the galaxy what fear truly is. The chamber fell quiet, because in the shadows of their unease, one truth could no longer be denied. Humanity was winning.
The Concord's patience shattered. Humanity had humiliated them in battle after battle, turning each lesson into a graveyard of starships. Worlds once cowed by the Council now whispered Earth's name with awe. The Concord could not allow it to continue. So they gathered the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. 100,000 warships converged on Sol, blotting out the system with their sheer presence. Entire moons were stripped for resources to fuel the armada. This was not an invasion, it was annihilation. Earth itself would be reduced to ash and the human threat erased forever. On the Concord flagship, Admiral Threx felt no triumph. His claws tapped the command chair as he studied the enemy. Humans should have looked cornered, outnumbered, broken. Instead, their fleet waited with unnerving calm, positioned like hunters crouched before the pounce. And then, Earth revealed its teeth. From beneath the planet's crust, titanic defense platforms rose, hidden for decades beneath false geological signatures. From Luna, rail batteries extended, their barrels kilometers long. Mars, long thought a struggling colony, ignited with shipyards that birthed warships by the dozen. Even the scattered asteroid colonies joined in, their mining rigs reconfigured into monstrous cannons. The battle erupted in a storm of fire and steel. Concord ships advanced in disciplined waves, but the Sol system itself had become a fortress. Rail slugs shredded carriers, drone swarms engulfed frigates. Human capital ships rammed into enemy cruisers, detonating point-blank as if martyrdom was a tactic. And everywhere, painted across the armor of human vessels, those mocking iron grins glared back at the enemy. Still, the Concord pressed forward. Ship by ship, they burned closer to Earth, until Earth itself struck back. From orbit,
colossal satellites powered by antimatter reserves fired beams that split the void like lightning. Concorde ships, thought invincible, cracked and melted under the assault. The admiral watched in horror as the human counteroffensive surged, not faltering, not desperate, but joyous. Humanity was not enduring the apocalypse. Humanity was thriving in it. On every Concorde frequency, a final transmission cut through the chaos. General Aria Vega's voice rang clear, resolute, and unshaken. You wanted to break us. You wanted to see if we would beg. But understand this. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not bow. We rise. The words echoed as the Concorde line buckled. Ships broke formation. Admirals screamed for retreat, and fear, true, primal fear, swept through the armada. The invincible Concorde was running. When the smoke cleared, Earth still stood, scarred, battered, mourning its dead, but unbroken. The Concorde Council convened once more, no longer with arrogance, but with the knowledge of defeat. Their war had failed, their authority shattered. And then came Earth's answer to victory. Not conquest, not vengeance, peace. Humanity extended a hand to the very powers that sought to destroy it. Trade, alliance, a future shared, not ruled. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the victors, grinning through their scars, offered mercy instead of domination. Because humans' greatest weapon was never its ships, its guns, or its secrets. It was the iron will to endure and the choice to rise above vengeance. The galaxy had declared war. And Earth smiled because at last it had proven what it always knew. Humanity was ready.